Like today with something that we've always been arguing from the very beginning on the very nature of how and what an impeachment proceeding should be. The most ardent person who's been discussing it is no other than our Deputy Chief Prosecutor, Congressman Rudy Fariñas of the 1st District of Ilocos Norte. Apo, please.
Thank you, Miro. I'm very happy that what happened this afternoon, we could call it providential. That object, Justice Cuevas wanted to strike out the testimony of the Secretary of Justice, but the Senate President, for the first time, made it categorical that this is not a criminal trial. And that has been our position from day one. Nakita niyo naman, nung tumayo ako doon, ang usapin lang po dito is just the matter of yung karapatan ng public officer to remain in office. So, di ba, nagkaroon nga ho kami ng palitan ng kuro-kuro nun, na sabi, meron naman penalty, removal from office. Yes, that's only the penalty attached to it. But after that, kasi pagkatapos po nito, ang usapin lang dito, meron ka ba bang karapatan na hawakan yung office na yan o wala? Pag nawala, tanggal na. Susunod na po yung criminal case. Kaya now, napakaganda po yung nangyari para sa akin.
Siguro, pandagdag na lang doon sa sinabi po ni Congressman Fariñas, we really look at this as a major victory insofar as the declaration of the court today. When finally the court took a specific stand on a matter that we have been raising from the very beginning, that this is not a criminal proceedings. And we have always objected to, and Congressman Fariñas on the floor has always been objecting to the fact that the decisions as they are being rendered in the past, particularly on excluding certain evidence and the manner by which evidence is presented, partakes of a criminal proceeding which we said should not. And no less than the Senate President has said on three matters. This is not a criminal proceeding. Secondly, hearsay is actually admissible in impeachment proceedings, which is what we've always been saying. No less than Congressman Fariñas has in fact been arguing that hearsay evidence is actually admissible except for uncorroborated hearsay evidence, meaning yung talagang walang ibang po pwedeng, siguro if you want.
More importantly, Miro, sinabi ni Senate President na hindi proof beyond reasonable doubt ang kailangan dito. So yung very clear na hindi in the nature of a criminal case. So maganda. What happened previously siguro is ito naman yung recovery namin. Nakita rin siguro ni Senate President na may right naman ang people of the Philippines, the House of Representatives, to due process. Ang due process po kasi magkabila yan. Hindi lang naman po dun sa pinapanagot ng taong bayan. Yung taong bayan, may karapatan din po sa wastong proseso. Kaya dapat po din naman yung aming mga ebidensya at sana po ito'y tuloy-tuloy na pagbibigay sa amin ng karapatan namin para mapresenta yung aming kaso ng mabuti.
At ang isa pang magandang lumabas dito sa ating paglilitis ho, yung kahalagahan po ng dissenting opinion ni Justice Sereno po. Ang importansya po nun, meron kasing mga sinite siya na facts na wala po dun sa majority opinion. Unang-una, inisyong ex parte yung TRO. Ibig po sabihin ng ex parte, hindi binigyan po ng tsansa magpaliwanag ang gobyerno ng kaniyang panig. At pangalawa po, ay merong mga circumstances na pinag-usapan na hindi po natupad and yet pinalabas po ng Korte Suprema through Chief Justice Corona na epektibo na po yung TRO.
So, ulitin ko lang, no? Tatlong bagay ang tingin namin importante sa sinabi sa 2 minuto lamang na sinabi ni Senate President. That this is not a criminal proceeding and that based on U.S. jurisprudence, which is what we've always been saying, is that the quantum of evidence is not proof beyond reasonable doubt. In fact, it is just any proof which any of the judges are willing to accept to support a verdict of conviction or acquittal. It's entirely up to the senator to make that decision. There is no quantum of evidence that is actually required or set. And lastly is that hearsay is actually admissible in terms of impeachment cases. And very, very lastly, I see that third point on hearsay is that the prosecution today is left with no choice. Sometimes we have to find derivative ways to prove this case because the Supreme Court has made it very, very difficult. Ang Korte Suprema po ay naglagay po ng isang napakabigat na balakid para po natin makuha ang katotohanan. Unang pagkakataon, ang pag-i-issue ng TRO laban doon sa foreign accounts. Hindi po natin mabuksan po yan. Pangalawa pong balakid, yung February 14 ruling of the Supreme Court, nung sinabi po nila na hindi pwede any of the justices, none of the court personnel can go. They cannot even volunteer if they want to voluntarily go. Una, hindi namin nire-respeto ang subpoena. Pangalawa, they cannot voluntarily go without the consent of the en banc. So can you imagine? Literally, the Supreme Court has placed a wall around it that makes the truth-seeking impenetrable. Talagang hindi na ho namin mahahanapan ng paraan kung paano po natin may extract ito. So, today's ruling is absolutely welcome and very enlightening for all of us. It's a very, very welcome afternoon for us.
Sir, malaking bahagi ng testimony ni Secretary Lila may strikeout. So, ano po yung magiging epekto?
Walang strikeout. Sabi ni Senate President, let it remain on the record. Let it stay. And then bahala na yung mga individual senators na tingnan, himayin kung alin doon ang kanilang papaniwalaan, alin doon ang kanyang narinig lang sa iba. Total, alam naman ng, baski ikaw yung nagkukwento, yung marinig mo na hindi naman niya alam, pero Secretary of Justice ito. So, yung testimony niya was allowed to remain on the record. Walang strikeout.
It was not stricken off the record. Malinaw yun. Sinabi ni, there was a move to strike it out, but it was not stricken out of the records because precisely, let it stand. And let the senators just make the decision. Ano ba ito? Is that hearsay? And sinabi nga niya, even if it's hearsay, it's going to be admissible, but it will now depend on how the senators will appreciate it. Kaya nga sinasabi ni Congressman Nadaza, ang usapin dito is weight. Bibigyan mo nila ng mabigat na pagtingin yung ebidensya o hindi. Pero it was not stricken off the record.
Sir, since considering na tinanggap yung testimony ni Secretary De Lima, what does her testimony speak of the Chief Justice's liability or accountability concerning the TRO? Yung testimony ni Secretary, kasi tinanggap na eh. Anong tingin nyo doon sa testimony niya? How would that boost your argument na bias siya kay former President?
Well, pinapakita na talagang nag-bend over backwards po yung court led by Chief Justice Corona to accommodate Mrs. Arroyo. Kasi nag-meet pa sila on a Friday. Wala namang meeting ang Supreme Court on Fridays eh. Nag-special meeting sila. Tapos in-issue po yung TRO, wala pang compliance with the two conditions. Yung dalawang conditions po na sinabi na pinag-usapan po ng korte, yung 2 million bond at yung pag-appoint po ng special power of attorney na tatanggap ng summons, hindi pa po tapos yun as of November 15 eh. And yet na-issue po yung TRO in defiance of the agreement po ng mga justices.